we know that based on our previous episodes, we're always talking about the skills, right? The skills that we need for the 21st century or skills for entering the workforce. And I believe in the last two episodes we had, Doc, we always heard the term soft skills and hard
Yes.
skills, right? So hard skills refer to those the ones that we're getting in school. So it can be writing, video editing and production,
Mm-hmm.
programming. And then on the flip side, we have the soft skills, which refer to all of our people skills, how we communicate with people, how we work with people. And employees want both. But is there something new that you can share with us? What are the importance of soft skills? Is it just soft skills and hard skills that we should be preparing as we enter into the workforce?
You know, the pandemic, the lockdown, everything, the world of work evolved the past 2 years, Bianca. So if I'm looking at literature on
Right.
work life, and because I've been conducting well-being trainings for various organizations, meaning
Mm.
companies, and then we have hybrid work, we have in-person or face-to-face work, and of course there's remote work. And they've seen that the skills needed has evolved. It's just no
Mm.
longer about soft skills, hindi lang basta hard skills. We are giving birth now to human skills. If you come to think of it, they're actually very important to create thriving teams. Kahit ano pang setup mo. Pupunta ka sa opisina, you're working remotely, or wherever you may be, human skills are very important. It's because it's our ability to relate with one another, ability
Mm-hmm.
to manage ourselves, and doon na papasok yung ating empathy, compassion, and the person that we are, that we're bringing into the world of work. So this studies are being done to see what are the needed human skills. Hindi pa tapos, bago pa lang lumalabas ang mga recent findings.
I see. So would you say that human skills is, are we getting rid of the term soft skills completely, or has it evolved to
Well,
human skills? What do you
I
think?
don't I don't think we're getting rid of those, but I think we
Mm-hmm.
need to bridge. Because when you say soft skills, it's the communication skills, how you present yourself and everything. But when we go to human skill, it's actually maybe
Great.
overlap, maybe combination, or maybe just the
Mm-hmm.
intersection. Intersection of, let's just look at it as personal skills also that we need to bring in the table. So pagpasok natin dyan, hindi natin matututunan yan in the workforce. We are expected, because people who thrive in positive workspaces in the future have these skills as foundations. Kaya critical siya. Personal skills siya. Human personal skills.
I see. So people really need these different skills in the workplace. So how do you think it's different from the, well, communication has always been existing now
Yeah.
in the workplace,
Mm-hmm.
and with the change in the pandemic, how do you think those communication skills have changed now in the current workplace?
I cannot actually, I'm not an expert on the soft skills. I have to
Okay,
quantify that. But I
right.
believe that the interaction in the workplace has differed. It's different. So
Ah,
many, your
okay, right.
communication is no longer measured by what you say and how you present yourself. Because now you also need to know how to engage with people while online. What we're doing, we're engaging with people. So how do you call that? That's a new skill,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just not
Mm,
presenting, but connecting with people, with all of you there. That's actually something. Because when you go to remote work or hybrid work, you need this skill. So it has evolved. Literally, everything has evolved.
okay, so these human skills have definitely evolved. I see. What do you think is the biggest change you've seen, and how the complete you? I think it was a great example. Before,
Mm,
communicating would just be two people talking to each other. Now we have these digital platforms and
yeah.
how we communicate. Do you think there are other big changes to how we've practiced communication?
Um, well, communication now is more challenging. If we're going to look
Mm-hmm.
at person to person connection,
Right.
not the communication per se, not the
Mm-hmm.
presentation skills. Because you cannot see anymore in the email the tone, the
Right.
nonverbal, and the reaction of the person. So it's
Right.
very critical to choose the right words and
Mm-hmm.
to write appropriately. So
Right. Right.
it can be that you're stressed when you're writing it. Will it show in your email? Will it show in your communication? So it's very
Mm-hmm.
different. And then another part of that is that hindi natin nakikita yung totoong state, the authenticity of the person
Right. Right.
in many platforms that we're using now, like this one, you don't really know what's happening. But look at it. If we're at work and we're side by side in the table, you know that the person beside you is somehow upset, but just looking
Mm-hmm.
at him or her, by the way she frowns, yung parang, yung sa Tagalog, di ba, may dabog, parang ang bigat ng
Right.
paan nito ngayon. So ngayon,
Mm.
kailangan natin, it's an extra effort to have sensitivity. So those are
Okay.
nonverbal communication, and it's something that we don't really teach, right? So
Right.
there are a lot of I believe human skills that we need to continue enhancing, because
Mm-hmm.
later on, the more we will need it, because I've
Right.
seen in various corporations yung mga problema dati, problema ngayon. Especially in
Mm-hmm.
the remote
Mm-hmm.
work setup, in the hybrid
Mm-hmm.
setups. My question nga one time is that how come you have the same workload, but this problem never happened before? So that's a good question. So it's an issue
Mm.
of coping and resilience.
I
Diba?
see. Right.
So
Right.
there,
I see. So in a way, we had a lot of discussion right now about how kawawa ang mga bata sa pandemic. But it seems because they weren't able to experience face-to-face
yes.
classes. But it seems like, in a way, they now have an advantage because their communication skills have been enhanced. It's not just the face-to-face one. Now they also have certain
Well,
skills with online, how to communicate, how to relay certain tones, even though it's just pure words or via
if
email.
if it's feedback properly and they've learned it
Mm,
properly, it will be an
right.
advantage. But if it's not really cultivated in them, that they're doing it right and everything, then it's gonna be a lost skill. So I would like to us to talk about. I have some observation on what are the critical skills that are
Hmm.
actually crucial for the generation now. Is that okay? So
Yes, yes, please go
in my
ahead.
observation, I think one of the let's call this the four C's. This is my
Hmm.
observation on what could be
Right.
the best skills for you to adjust eventually. And you don't
Hmm.
get this. Take note, guys. You don't get this. You don't get this training while you are in the workplace. You get
Hmm.
it right now while you're experiencing stress, you're experiencing difficulties, while you
Hmm.
are in the world of in your high school or in the real world. This is when you experience this. The first one is critical thinking. We've heard critical thinking in terms of schooling, di ba? Naririnig na natin
Right.
yan na reading, you should, but critical thinking, let's put it, critical thinking, it's about the self also. It's about being able to think at your feet. For example, that
Hmm.
may iniwan issue yung kasama mo sa trabaho and then you don't have
Hmm.
anyone to ask about it. You should be able to actually think at your feet to know paano mo to didiskartehan, to get out of the box if you need to. Not just think within the scope kung ano lang yung sinabi, but the context of the situation. I think we have to do that. We have to expand our thinking, not just in the black and white, but in the context and the dimensions of each situation. That is very critical. Doon papasok yung critical thinking. And
Right.
paano mo makikita yan? Makikita mo yan sa buhay. Kung wala kang resources, anong gagawin mo?
Hmm.
Tigigil ka na lang? No, you should. This is critical thinking is actually when we become more creative, when we
Hmm.
become, more resilient, and well, somehow makakaisip tayo ng paraan. Hindi lang I'm looking at critical thinking not just with the with the learning, with the
Hmm.
subject, with the topic, but critical thinking about life and about certain difficulties. So it's very critical. So that's the first critical thinking. The second is I believe ito ang um the past 2 years, 3 years in the pandemic, I've been doing a
Yes.
lot of well-being sessions for
Okay.
different corporations, and two of the critical topics that they're always requesting is coping and resilience. Well,
Oh, okay.
many people, in terms of well-being, in terms of mental health, they're actually coping, but are you
Mm-hmm.
really coping healthily? And when we say resilience, because we cope better, we are actually strengthened. Di ba when we say resilience, parang you're able to you fall pero nakabawi ka. That's also not just agility but also being able to navigate adversity. So this is actually a mental health component. Resilience is actually the result of coping well.
Mm, okay.
We need to learn that the mental and emotional well-being part is very critical now. Do you know how to take care of your mental health? For example, you're so stressed with work. Do you just indulge in milk tea? This is what I notice with a lot of people in the workforce now. Okay, nasa stress sila. Do you go into vices? Do you take alcohol? Nagbi-binge sa Netflix and then they just
Mm-hmm.
order food? But
Mm-hmm.
I think the kids now, the teenagers now, I have a teenage son also, they're more advanced in their way of they can take sports anytime, anywhere because it's
Mm-hmm.
online. They can watch videos, right? So there you go. Mas marami na yung information about how they can strengthen both their physical health and their mental health. So do that, guys. Because kahit nahihirapan kayo ngayon, isipin nyo, dito sa paghihirap to, dito na uububuo kung paano ako nagko-cope. Can you say with me, cope? So you have to learn to cope better because this is part of life.
Mm-hmm.
Difficulties, challenges, package yan sa buhay. Pag
Mm-hmm.
sinabi nyo nakaka-stress yung school, I'll tell you, nakaka-stress yung trabaho.
It's
And
just
walang,
preparing you, kumbaga.
yes, and
Yes.
it's not the problem, the coping is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you are getting in this digital age all the answers to your questions in one tap of the finger and all the information that you need is already there, sometimes you will reach a point in the workforce that there are no answers to your question. You just
Mm-hmm.
have to learn things along the way. And what
Right.
do? You have to learn to cope, to adapt, and still, the goal is to thrive despite difficulties. Somehow, kailangan mo dito the critical thinking skill. But in the process, how am I taking care of my well-being? Am I coping better? Am I exercising rather than indulging in alcohol? So, dito papasok yung paano mo hinahandle yung difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
Paano, if your mental health is compromised, how are
Right.
you able to strengthen your mental tenacity and also capable of acknowledging your emotions during all these processes?